Right. Looks a little grainy. Looks better. I think. Right. The lighting's a bit better, I think. I think that's better. Let's see here. Hello, hello. How's the audio and video? Can you hear okay? Audio's good, video's good? Okay, good. I turn up the lighting a little bit just because you can hear the light though. That's crazy. Well, yeah, I can. If I go real close, I can hear it. I think we probably have to move the light away from the phone. That'd be what would have to happen. That's what probably would have to do. Yeah. Because I can hear it, but I can barely hear it. I think my voice is probably much louder than the noise. Hey, Michael. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to December. How is November to you? Or for you? Yeah. I actually manscaped today. So I was like all crazy furry till today. Yeah. It was pretty crazy. But good to see you here. I hope your weekend was good. And thank you in advance if you checked out the survey for the merch. We're a lot closer. Still not done with replacing the garage door opener. Oh. You'll get it done. You'll get it done. It'll happen. It'll happen. So yeah, so we'll give it another, I don't know, a few minutes or so, and then we'll get this party started. Some looking forward to the 100th show. That's going to be pretty cool. In the process of figuring out what the 100th show will be. Also, merch is coming along. So we're in the process of just sorting out the last remaining particulars, and then so merchandise should be happening very, very soon at this point. Now we're just in the polishing phases of it, figuring out a couple of last minute things, and then once we figure that out, then we'll be able to do it up. So that would be cool. Hopefully the live feed is going well, or it's not choppy or anything. Last check, the audio and video was good. But again, we're looking at bigger and better and newer stuff coming right along. So, and also Journeys. West Coast Wanderlust will be, it's getting done up now. So we're in the process of figuring the editing out there. So that will be coming up soon too. So while we're waiting for a little bit longer, there is new things that are coming up. Of course, we have the West Coast Wanderlust coming up. So I have to definitely get in touch with the people that I connected with over there on the West Coast to let them know. Also, too, the survey it's gone pretty well for the most part. So we have an idea of what people would want. So we're looking at the merchandise, getting that going. So that will be good. So relatively soon, I'm guessing definitely by Christmas you should be able to. But I don't want to jump the gun. We're just finalizing a couple of things before we go into the final stages of the launch. I wanted to launch it sooner, but due to unforeseen events, of course, life is messy. It's not going to be launched right this moment, but we're looking at very soon. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks tops. And that's a pretty good, I think that's a pretty good estimate. So hopefully less than that. The logo is just about. We're just in the polishing stages of finishing up the logo. But the logo is pretty much, I think it's good. It's a keeper. So I know we're just tweaking it now. Yes. And I think it works. I think it'll be good. And also, there's a lot of new things along the way too that we're going to be doing up. Of course, some new updates to the show, some new updates to everything, from the channel trailer all the way across. So yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. And some new tech. Some new tech as well. Recently acquired. That will also help in the live show aspect of things. So it should be pretty good. Yep. So the new channel trailer, new intro. There's a lot of new. There's a lot of new happening. So, and potentially even a blooper reel, an outtakes or blooper reel. A smartphone app in the future within app purchases. You know, I actually did start that procedure happening, that method happening. I had spoken to someone to get an app going, but I have to figure out where. Hey, Gene. I have to figure out where that's been. Also, too, just recently found out about a possible frame. You know those frames that you can get for your pictures on Facebook? Well, there's also now, if I shoot like a moon site or something on Facebook Live, I can also put up a frame. So that's kind of cool too. So there's a lot of things, potentials, and things that we're looking at building and getting going. The merch is one. Also, some upcoming interesting shows that are going to be coming up. So a lot of new things, and potentially in the works, another Moonshadow, Inside Moonshadow journeys coming up. Hopefully potentially within the next couple of months. I've already been in the process of trying to sort out the particulars with that too. So we'll see. But there's a lot of upcoming things, so I do suggest and coax you to stay tuned with Inside Moonshadow, because there's going to be some new stuff coming. We're always trying to make it bigger and better, and coming up soon, we're looking at much bigger and better. So don't be surprised if you see a bunch of new uploads, new polished uploads. Those have been due since the last time I was out west. So, and it's really, things have just been really, really crazy on this end. So it's basically been on me. So yeah, there are things that I've needed to do that I've kind of put aside, not because I wanted to, but just because there's been a lot of challenges that have been happening. But again, as always, we're here weekly, every week, live, no matter what, whether this is the background, or I'm outside, or I'm out somewhere. So next week, yes, we just got a bit backlog. And next week, the 100th show. The 100th show. And coming up, the anniversary as well in February, the anniversary to Inside Moonshadow. So we've been doing it for 2 years. 2 years already. That's crazy. Yeah. And as John Lennon said, life is what happens when you're busy making plans. So we got a lot of that going on too. So I'll give it another few more minutes, and then we'll get this party started and get going on to the topic of the day. And part of what we're going to discuss today is about the supermoon that just happened yesterday, because it ties into the topic today as well. So hopefully you were able to check out the amazing supermoon last night, because it was very, very powerful energies. Yes, and it is retrograde, but I try not to focus on retrograde because Mercury retrograde can cause issues in life, but I refuse to allow those issues to stop me. So, yeah, retrograde happens. So be aware of some communication problems, some tech issues, things that you don't expect to break down, potentially can break down. So, something to think about when you are with this particular moon happening. But retrograde never lasts for too long, so it just is a matter of time before retrograde is passed, and then we move on. So nothing is permanent, not even death. So yeah, exactly. Oh, and that makes sense too. I know Ariel had issues with her laptop. So now thinking about it, Mercury in retrograde, that would make sense. That makes a lot of sense now. For sure. All right, well, we'll just get this thing started right now. So I'm glad you guys are here. Always a pleasure catching you guys here. And of course, as always, it's always a pleasure. Yeah, there's a lot of, we can do a lot of, yeah. That would be good. So yes, well, let's start the show. Yeah, retrograde is a pain in the butt. Guaranteed. Alrighty then. So let's get this thing started. So we have a time check. It's 4:58. 4:58, episode 99. And the date is 12/4/2017. Alright, let's get this started. Welcome to Inside with Moonshadow. I'm Moonshadow, an Integrative Holistic Therapist, CHI-vangelist, global citizen, and overall earthy, crunchy, shaman type dude. It's really important thinking about the topic and the present time frame of what's going on today. A lot of times we forget about nature. We forget about what's happening. We forget about the natural order of things. And there is a natural order of things most of the time. So, that being said, now you have to mention that? So, yeah. Anyway. We're going to have to do this again. So take two. But this happens often. But we do an audio check. We do a video check. We do a sound check. We do all the checks. And then guess what? Something comes up. So, hold that thought. Because certain things have come to light. Bring it back. Okay. Are we ready for take two? I know. All right. We're going to do take two. Take two. All right. Welcome to Insight with Moonshadow. I am Moonshadow, an Integrative Holistic Therapist, CHI-vangelist, global citizen, bitten by wanderlust, spirit and soul having a human experience. Welcome to episode 99. 99 of Insight with Moonshadow, and here we are, 99 episodes. If you told me I'd be doing this for 99 episodes, I'd be surprised and probably a little freaked out. But here I am, the 99th week, consecutively, without missing a beat, without missing anything, being here within messy times, challenging times, good times, bad times, all the time. We're here like a bad penny, or a good penny, or just a penny. And sometimes it's good to just have a penny. But anyway, I digress. But hopefully you were around and you picked up the posts and picked up the inkling of the supermoon. Also read up and researched on the supermoon. That was a little homework that I didn't give you. But seeing that you're here every week and you're learning a little bit more on the shamanic way of living and the shamanic way of life, living more mindfully, more body, mind, and spirit, you hear about the supermoon. Even the Today Show, we're talking about the supermoon. Even CNN is talking about the supermoon. Hey there, Anna. Hello, hello. So now, the supermoon was yesterday. So today and yesterday, and you still have time. If you want to work on doing some supermoon ceremony type stuff, you can still do it. It may not be as potent as it was yesterday, but it does not mean that it is not potent. Usually a full moon has its 3 days of a full moon. So you have the day before, the day of, which is 100%, and then you have the day after, which goes 98%, 96% and down. But you can still work with the energy because it is still full or full-ish. So as you know, I'm not really all about the rules all the time. So I will sometimes even work with ceremony all 3 days. The day before, the day of, and the day after. So now, just touching base before we get into the nitty-gritty or the meat and potatoes of the topic today, the start of it is about the supermoon. And what the supermoon really is characteristic of. So now the supermoon was in Gemini, first of all. So Gemini is all about decisions, all about looking at things from a perspective of cleaning house, what things aren't working for you to get rid of, what to allow into your life, a lot of big changes happening. And also we have a retrograde in Sagittarius. Now, I don't try to put too much emphasis in the retrograde and the Mercury going retrograde because communication's already not so great all the time. So if you are a mindful individual, then you can deal with retrograde. You just got to be aware of it. It's all about working with it, ultimately. So now, but with the supermoon is also is in coordination with the last supermoon of the 2017. So this is also about letting go of things that no longer suit you. Also letting go and purging and banishing and getting rid of all of the things that really aren't really doing you any more justice at this point. Now, moving into what's pertinent about the supermoon is also the topic for today is really actually about the coming of the end of the year. Now, last week we spoke about Christmas and about gift giving and all that good stuff, and that's the practical aspect of it. But we're going to go into the shamanic and the more spiritual aspect of it coming up now into Christmas. Reason being, sometimes we forget in the hustle and bustle and the way things are, we forget about the spiritual and mindful aspect of what's really happening. The world is going into a slumber. It's going into a sleep. It's going into a hibernation. The leaves have already dropped off because of all, the drop in temperature, of course. The leaves are for all the trees. People have stopped mowing the lawns and doing yard work. Thank God. Yes, thank God. But now it's a fall cleanup and that kind of thing. And, of course, we're all expecting the dropping of temperatures and the inevitable potential of snow and bitter cold. But the thing is, that aspect of things, it's also about letting go of what's no longer suiting you. Getting rid of the dead wood. Because ultimately, that's how, shamanically, that's how nature works in the world. That's one of the big parts of it, too. Because as we go into the winter, after the solstice, once we go into the winter, now we're looking at the aspects of storing food, buying more in bulk, making sure you have gas in your tank all the time, putting a few more blankets on the bed. All these things, it's prepping for the winter, prepping for what's soon to be the big sleep, nature's big sleep. Unfortunately, we all still have to work. We all still have to do things. We all still have to function. But it's functioning at a slower pace now. So now, what could you do here in the month of December? Okay, and also too, winter solstice is Thursday, December 21st. So that will be the official beginning of winter. Thank you very much. But the great thing, there's good and bad to it. If you're a snowboarder or you're a skier, you're like, bam, you're right there. I myself am not into winter sports as much as summer. I enjoy summer and fall and spring more so. But since I'm a winter baby and born in winter, then it's something that you get used to it. So now looking at December, at this point, it's now getting rid of the things you don't need, purging the things you don't need. All of that is really important now. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, from the perspective of, okay, what can I do without? What can I get rid of? What no longer suits me? Do not be surprised if now, towards the end of the year, with all the energies that have been going down, that's been happening. So Jean's also a winter baby. Awesome. And also, it's the longest night of the year in winter solstice, by the way. It's the longest night of the year. So that may mean you may get extra sleep. In this world, doubt it. But anyway. So now taking a look at that. So now you want to look at what no longer you no longer need. What is unnecessary? So do not be surprised if things happen. Do not be surprised if, oh, there's a lot of spring babies. Oh, okay, cool. In Minnesota, don't you know? But in winter, it's taking a good look at what no longer is serving you. Don't be surprised if relationships change around this time of year. Don't be surprised, especially with retrograde, Mercury being retrograde. Don't be surprised if there's some difficulties in conversations. But again, this is something that you could actually get through Mercury going in ultragrade. But it's really all about being mindful. If you're mindful about what you say and how you say it, and you kind of have some tact, then it changes. Then retrograde won't really affect you as much as it would be normally. Now, if you're someone that doesn't have a filter and doesn't use tact, well, that's a whole different can of worms. It may get worse. Definitely. Now, Michael is a summer baby. Well, that's awesome. But I'm also a firm believer that if you have a birthday, your birthday month should be celebrated for the whole month. You should celebrate you because you are the only you on the planet. So you should celebrate you the whole month of your birthday. Now, granted, you can't take the day off or the month off. You can't go off on some tropical trip or something like that. However, you can do little things to make you a better you. Right? So ultimately, I think that is really important. So you should celebrate your life in your month, your birthday month. So I think that's pretty awesome. Now also too, and it's very, very true as well, conversation can, especially now, in my social posts, in my social media, I do not speak of certain things. Why? Because there's so much hatred and so much trigger points at this point that there's nothing wrong with speaking your mind. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. However, there are certain things that people are hardwired for and hardwired in that automatically you're going to get a plugged-in response. And that's the hard part. So communication can already be broken down a little bit, and especially with the world today, it is so confusing. It is things we never expected. Things you never expected. It's just amazing. So being mindful of communications is really, really important. So if you have Mercury going in retrograde, yes, you're going to have an extra challenge. That's no different than having a risk of certain things. If you have certain health risks in your life, you gotta watch out for those things. Also, too, and that's a very well-made point. Also, too, a lot of times the written word can be so misleading because unless you know the person 150%, 200%, unless you know how their brain functions, you may misunderstand what they said. I've seen that in being a live streamer, being in social media. I've seen that quite often where someone types something. There are people that I care about dearly that they would type something. And I questioned if they were trolling or not. But then I know the person. So I realized that it wasn't, the person in persons. I realized it wasn't trolling. So it's so easy. Someone may mean something as a joke, but it could be bad timing, and then the joke turns out to be something else. Exactly. Like Ariel is saying, like the term good luck. So now just in that alone, communication-wise, let's think about this. If you say, good luck, I'm wishing the best for you. Okay, you're hearing me. You're seeing me. You're seeing me saying it. You're looking at my tone. You're looking at my body mechanics. You're seeing that I mean it. Good luck. I'm hoping the best for you. But if you're just reading good luck, it could be good luck, whatever. So this is also part of it. So with the whole retrograde thing, don't sweat it too much. Just understand that if you are mindful of your words and actions, you're going to be less misunderstood than usual. But it takes thinking. It takes, and I'm not going to say being overly politically correct either, because that, in the day, right now, in this day and age, almost everything is politically incorrect. And I'm not talking politics, but politically incorrect, meaning, if you're looking at the world societally incorrect, anything that's happening now, anything you can say something, and then before you know it, it blows up into something else. Then the drama comes in, and before you know it, and I've seen this on social media happen all too often, where it gets exaggerated and gets exacerbated so quickly that before you know it, it's a runaway train, no brakes, no windshield, just who knows where it's going to end up. So that's the thing. But that's retrograde for you. So it's not something that you should totally be concerned about. Just be more mindful of your words and actions. And before you post something, think about timing. Think about, is this a good time to do that? If someone had a major loss or something, you don't crack a joke unless that person would accept it as a joke or a light-hearted quip or something. So these are all things to think about. So retrograde, I'm not really too concerned about retrograde so much. The thing with retrograde being the technical problems, that it could be a little more challenging. Because, I could be sitting here talking, all of a sudden, boop, boop, it goes. But, fingers crossed, everything is still good, and it will stay good. Do you hear me, oh tech gods? So, but that's retrograde for you. So now, looking at winter. In winter, it's not just getting rid of the stuff you don't need. Purging clothes and like spring cleaning. We do a lot of that during spring cleaning as well. But in winter, it's also a mental and spiritual thing too. A lot of people will tend to gain a few pounds. It's Q. Welcome, Q. Like some people will gain a couple of pounds during winter. Well, that does happen. That does happen. Because, things slow down a little bit. Your metabolism slows down a little bit. So, what happens? If you want to not gain a couple of pounds, then, of course, you want to, bump up the physical activity, even though it's winter. Go to the gym an extra day a week or something. Or go more regularly. Take more walks. Sometimes that's all it takes. Plus, with the holidays, it is so easy. With family, friends, food, and frolicking, it is way too easy to comfort your food to death and then find yourself with an extra 10, 15, 20 pounds. Just a little heads up, people. Be thoughtful about it. So yes, and big hearts to Q. But see, this is the thing. So now looking at it from the standpoint of winter, you're looking at also purging spiritual and energetic things away. That's also part of it. So get rid of the things that aren't working for you, even mentally. A lot of times we work on our bodies before we even work on our minds, before we even work on our souls and our spirits. We don't do that enough. So it's important to say, okay, this isn't serving me anymore. This isn't working anymore. So now is the time to get rid of it, especially during the full moons too. Every 30 days you have a full moon. So now, as Ariel is saying here, there are things that you've gathered throughout the year that you could purge before the new year. And that's something that it's good to replace too. Because I actually, looking at, and exactly, you get much more out of your activities if you're more mindful and aware of things. Being aware is really important. Very, very important. So now if you're looking at like just Christmas lights, for example, why should you mess around and fuss around with these Christmas lights you've had for the last 20 years and poke around and try to figure out? Now, granted, I'm a saver. I'm a fixer. I will tweak things. I will fix things, and things will last a long time with me. However, if you have the same set of lights and then you're trying to figure out where the short is or where there's a problem, then guess what? Time to get some new lights. Purge the old lights. Or reuse them. You can put them on a plant or something else. You can do something else with them. Upcycle them somehow, some way. But this is part of it. So mindfully, so with your mind, within the mind, body, and spirit realm of things, a lot of people speak to me and go, geez, I don't know why things are going on this way. Why do I feel so this? Why do I feel so bombarded? This is the universe's way of kind of telling you it's time to clean house. It's time to get rid of what isn't working for you anymore. It's time to now move forward into the new year. Even in mythology, you have the old man with the cane, very older, and again that comes from the pagan origins of things. But the old man and baby, baby new year, new things coming around the corner. Even in going into the New Year's resolution, which potentially may be a show about how to go into the new year with a good mindset, potentially. But just touching a little base on that as well, is a lot of times we do resolutions that don't work. They're either too lofty or too huge or too ambitious, and then we find ourselves failing or epic failing. We realize, whoa, crap. So you don't have to say, oh, I'm going to go through my whole house and I'm going to be doing this, and that, and doing all this crazy stuff. No, you don't have to go that far. Do it in little steps. Do it in little steps. And also, as far as the whole idea of a New Year's resolution, I think having a mindful plan of what to do. There are certain things we have to do. There's certain things we have to keep up. We have to still sleep, we still have to pay our bills, we still have to eat, there are things that we still have to do. Add that into the works. What isn't working for me now at this point at the end of the year, and what can I do to improve myself for next year? Small baby goals, little steps. A baby step is far more monumental than a huge lofty goal that you're not going to accomplish. But this is why we're talking about right now, about the fact of winter and the purging and getting rid of what no longer serves you and no longer works for you. Once you start doing that, you know, and I've started doing a lot of that recently as well. Is okay, I've had this a while. Time to change it. And that's also another thing as well. If you take 3 or 4 or 5 steps, like in any given day, there are days that I would never think that I would reach my goal in steps. You know, because I have obviously a fitness tracker, a Fitbit. But the thing is, there are days that I don't think I'm even going to come close to it. And before you know it, I actually did more than I expected. I did a couple of more flights of stairs that I didn't realize. So this is all part of it. But being mindful to some degree. Also, too, utilizing, and this is something I did for the supermoon as well. I did multiple things for the supermoon, but I also took advantage of a huge resource, and that's YouTube. Right now, I'm live on YouTube. It's a huge resource, people. Huge resource. What you can do is you can go in. There's meditations. There's tutorials. There's DIYs. There's everything. You name it. You can go ahead and search on YouTube and find something that's going to be helpful, educational, or good for you to be a better you. So if you really think about it from that perspective, like I ended up doing a couple extra meditations to do some purging, to getting rid of some energy that wasn't serving me anymore. Because right now, in this day and age, where we're kind of stuck with a lot of criticism and judgment, there's a lot of that going on right now. The energy is so heavy, you can cut it with a spoon. You can just spoon it right out the way the tension is today. So it's up to you, being the, mindful insight with moon people out there, that you too can make the change little by little, little steps. Little social posts on your social media platforms. Positive posts. And it's saying that I'm part of a Facebook group that's actually a monthly subscription, and I get lessons there throughout the month. Fantastic. And that's something that is also important too. Looking at it from the winter standpoint, you want to get rid of things, but you also want to gain new things. So I know, like, every year I attempt to gain more training, to hone my craft more, to bring in a new modality, to increase a modality, to strengthen or intensify all that I'm doing already. So it's all about improving, sometimes slapping a fresh coat of paint. And what I mean by that is sometimes you could use a fresh coat of paint. Sometimes you need to kind of clear up the canvas a little bit, or pick up a new canvas and start moving forward on who you are. And that's the important thing. That's the important thing right here and now, is that you are right now in charge of your destiny. You are in charge of your upcoming thing. And things happen, things get in the way. But now we are given the opportunity, it being more into the winter and going into the winter solstice with these supermoons. Now, a lot more people are aware of supermoons now than before. And these are people that are not like super earthy, crunchy, and spiritual. These are very, very non-spiritual people. And they're coming up to me and talking to me or asking me about supermoons. Also, too, there's always an opportunity and chance that if you have lightly used or still really, really good stuff, that you can upcycle it, or you could give it to the big brothers and big sisters, or you can give it to some charity, or help some charity. That's all important. Just this past month, I know Michael was involved in Noshember or Movember, depending. Movember would be just a mustache, and Noshember is no shaving. Well, I didn't shave all month, and today was the first day I actually shaved. So I actually look somewhat human as opposed to some woodland lycanthrope out of the forest, because that's kind of what I looked like. See, now also too, ERs are usually busier during the full moons as well. And again, even though they say it doesn't really affect anybody, because there have been studies, but I believe that since we have one of our major components in our bodies is water, we do get affected by the moon. At least I believe that. If you're crazy, you're crazy. You don't need the moon to help you. But the point is, working with that energy is also important. It's also very, very important. So now looking at what no longer serves you. If you look at it and say, wow, you know what? My clothes are starting to get tight. Don't need them. Keep a few that you know that you want, if you feel that you're going to go back to that size, and then let go of the rest. There's a lot of times that I've actually received clothing from family members that weren't even used. They bought, weren't even used. They still had the tags on them. But I'm the right size, and they're like, look, I'm gonna donate. Here's a bunch of clothes. You take what you want, and then donate the rest. I did that with a bunch of shirts. I did that with a bunch of things that was upcycled to me, and they're all like, some of it was all still had tags on them. It was just in impulse buys. Hello. Hey Tanya, how are you? How goes it? So this is all part of it. See, and there you go. You could take a wreath and upcycle it to make it look new again. So if there is something that you could do, you could do it. And also now, Ariel is mentioning, me and my friends have a big clothing swap a few times a year. Now, she's not the only person that I know that does this. There are quite a few people I know that they will literally get together and say, these are clothes that I don't wear anymore. And they will literally put them in a pile. Ah, you're in Brazil. Fantastic. We have a Portuguese in the house. Brasileira. Fantastic. But this is the thing. So you get together, and I know a few people that do this. They take clothes that they don't wear anymore that aren't, beat to crap, and they put them in, and then you have a party. And it's like, oh, I've always liked that outfit. And then whatever isn't used, it goes off to, you put it together and you give it to a women's shelter. You can give it to homeless shelters. You can give it to soup kitchens. Some soup kitchens will accept clothing as well. Most of the time they take food. But even then, they sometimes will take stuff and move it along. Mwah! Kisses to Brazil. Now, what part of Brazil are you in? Do let me know. Ah, the Bay. Ah, very cool. So this is part of it. So looking at being more mindful this time of year. Now, of course, last week we spoke about this is the season of brotherly, goodwill, right? Brotherly, sisterly being family, being good to people. That doesn't always happen. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen all the time. But this is part of the situation. This is part of the deal. If you look at it from this perspective, Now, going into the new year, if you get some new clothes, I'll tell you, what's the likelihood that you are going to use that particular item? Probably not. So even people that save things, former pack rats, I resemble that comment. Sometimes you just got to purge what's not useful anymore. So that's important stuff. But also too, mindfully, just within your own, who you are, your own spirit. That in itself is very, very important. You know? And make room for new. You clear out your closet, you're making room for new clothes. And potentially that's what's going to happen. You're going to buy new clothes. You may lose some, you may gain some. But again, we're looking at this from mind, body, and spirit. So it's all about that delicate balance that we have. If you look at that delicate balance, then you can see what really happens, what you really need to do. So if you find that even relationships will change, especially this time of year, because we're coming to some new changes happening. 2018 is going to be a lot of big changes. And I'm not even talking about the political landscape. That, God forbid, I hope and pray. Hope and pray. But I believe there are enough people that are light bringers. There are more people that have stepped up to put good into the world to make the difference. And I think that's going to be the tipping point. I think that's going to change a lot of things coming up in the new year. But part of that is being mindful of things. Don't say one thing and then say, you didn't say it later when you know you said it. Do we know anyone that does that? I bet you do. Look at things from that perspective. Be authentically you. Now, a lot of times you look at a lot of people that do marketing, they're authentic and genuine and this and that. But I'm talking about truly, truly, absolutely being who you really, truly, truly are. With no filter, guise, mask, anything like that. So if something isn't suiting you or working with you anymore, get rid of it. Purge things. You don't have to hold on to those things anymore. So you know what will work and what will not work anymore. Even opinions. Opinions you had maybe 6 months ago may have changed drastically. So this is what's going into the winter season. This is what's going into that. And as Mother Earth starts to go into a deep slumber, go into a sleep, it is our job to be more thoughtful about what's happening, to be more mindful of what we're doing. How can we do it better? How can we make changes? What changes would we want to make to improve something? All those things make a difference. All those things matter. So now last week we spoke about, Christmas shopping and all that. But also, too, just because. The whole just because scenario. There's nothing wrong with giving someone something just because. I've received that kind of generosity, energy, support, and I've given that support as well. Yes, like The Man in the Mirror, Michael Jackson. Yes. And that was actually a very, very good song, I have to say. But ultimately, what is out there beyond your reach isn't necessarily within your control. Life is not within control. You can't control everything. Life is not something that you could easily put in sorted little boxes and say, this is what's going to happen, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that. timetables aside, looking at it from my standpoint, anything that I've wanted to do, it's the universe has had a way to joke and laugh at me a little bit and say, guess what? No, you're not. Not yet. Give it time. And that's what happens. So also shifting and adapting is also very, very important too. Because a lot of times we know people that don't have the ability to adapt. They're rigid. They're like the oak tree that has, you end up with that huge storm, and then what happens? Sometimes you have to be more like the willow. Sometimes you just have to be more adaptable. Look at things from someone else's point of view. Walk a mile in someone else's moccasins before you lay down the judgment, before you lay down that kind of post. On the West Coast, apparently they don't, that they don't have a whole lot of snow. So what do? Instead of Christmas trees, like we have evergreens in my end on the East Coast, we have pine trees. We have regular traditional Christmas trees, right? What's snow? Exactly, right? But on the West Coast, they throw Christmas lights around palm trees. That's adapting, people. I think that's fantastic. And there's nothing wrong with that. So truly, what this is all about, all of this is about, is really about being the best person that you could be, especially at this time of year. Take off that polish. Like even, like I obviously don't wear makeup anymore. And yes, I used to wear makeup back in the day, being an old musician, an old rock and roller guy. But the point is, even clowns have to take off their makeup. Women have to take off their makeup and let their skin breathe. This is part of what this winter is all about. This is what it's all about. So now taking a look at that from that standpoint, it's like, okay, it's time to release and let go of things that you no longer need. It's time to just look at things from your standpoint and say, okay, what isn't working? Why is this so difficult? Sometimes it's our own stuff. I'm a big fan of taking a good look at the end of the day. You look at your high points and low points. And I don't do it from a rigid standpoint. I look at it from a different standpoint. I'll take just from a very kind view, from almost like a third person view. Look at the high points and the low points of your day. What could I have done to make it better? And you try to do it the next day. You try to improve. You try to make things better. Think a little better. Think a little more efficiently. And I'm not saying efficiency like a robot, because it doesn't happen. We are all human. We will err. We will make mistakes. And in making mistakes, that's the only way that you're going to learn. That's the only way that you can get past your frailties. That's the only way you can get strong. Right? And Ariel's reminding me of a metaphor I use. If you keep doing this, you go, ow, this hurts. Why the hell are you still doing it? Maybe it's a bad habit. And people do that. They had an old Saturday Night Live skit that I forget who the characters were, but I remember it's like, oh, I hate when that happens. It's like, oh, yeah, you know when you take knitting needles and put them through your nipples and turn them around like a B-52 bomber? Yeah, I hate when that happens. Why give yourself or cause more pain than necessary in your life? And this is why we are in this stage. This is why shamanically, living in a mindful, in a more shamanic way, this is where you look at, okay, These are the things that have gone along the year. These are my learning experiences. These are my lessons. What's the takeaway? Ultimately, what's the takeaway? Welcome to December. This is what it's all about. What is the takeaway from this year? What could I have done better? And it's not going into the woulda, shoulda, couldas and then being overly critical of yourself. It's just kind of looking at it from a very lighthearted view. You know, like Ariel's saying, and I having habits that are difficult to get rid of. And it makes no sense and isn't helpful. And even I had mentioned to Ariel a few times, stop it. Don't do that. Why are you doing it? Why? What's it doing? What is it serving you? Is it doing any good? Yeah, right? That's an old doctor's joke, right? Hey, doc, it hurts when I move my arm. Stop moving your arm. That'll be $50. Very true. But this is part of it, though, is that we tend to be creatures of habit, and we tend to, very much in the same realm of Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again until we get a different result. And we never get a different result, other than the fact of a broken clock is correct twice a day. But if you go by military time, it's only once a day. But the thing is, ultimately, it's really about taking what is no longer working with you, taking and looking at yourself and saying, okay. Other people are quick to say, hey, you know what? You should have done da-da-da-da-da. Well, it's really all about the person in the mirror, because you're going to be the hardest critic. That, inner critic in your mind, that is going to be the part of you that you have to change, because that energy is already going on in the world. That stuff is already happening. It's already difficult to make ends meet. It's already difficult to do things or get things done. There's only 24 hours in a day. You may have physical limitations that slow you down. There are things that just recently I posted some stuff on my social media, where one post I posted was there was a girl she was obviously in a wheelchair, and she didn't have arms and legs. She had arms and legs, but they were stumps. But it was her birthday. I posted it. And why did I post that? Because it was her birthday. And I commented, happy birthday. Doesn't matter if you have arms and legs. You want people to celebrate who you are. You want people to celebrate your spirit. Now, some people will be like, well, I wouldn't post that because obviously, she's challenged or handicapped or whatever. But guess what? I didn't look at it that way. It's the celebration of who the person is, despite what could be a challenge, what could be a limitation. So this is part of it. So going into December, coming closer to Christmas, you're going to find that things are going to get more escalated. The energy is going to get more escalated. Things are going to get more stressful. You're going to find yourself having to do your Christmas shopping, and then finding yourself with a bunch of people in a bunch of stores and that kind of thing. It's going to be crazy, unless you shop online, of course. But the thing is, be mindful of it. Understand that other person that may be potentially being mean or nasty, maybe they've had a serious loss. And it's harder. And again, I remind you, goodwill among men. And that's understood. Men, women, children. Goodwill. It's more to it than just the commercialized aspect of it. It is the connection that we have to each other. It's the opportunity we have to make the changes. Because we constantly have room to self-improve all the time. And it's difficult. And it's difficult to do. But if you don't have room for something, make room. And sometimes when you have to make room, you have to purge something, right? You have to get rid of it. So if it's something that's not working within yourself, not working within your own mind, your own heart, your own spirit, your own body, then it's time to let it go. If there's toxic people in your life, sometimes you just gotta let it go. Toxic situations, sometimes you just have to let it go. Or sometimes the universe just lets it go for you, which is a benefit sometimes. Sometimes I think about that myself and wonder, why did that happen? Sometimes it's just meant to be. So now Michael is saying we are all angels and devils. We just improve by what we do ourselves or what happens to us. Right. So ultimately it's really about our experience. But you can kind of, with your own perception, you can kind of look at the good side or the not so good side. I can go ahead and tell you over the last few days what has gone wrong. Right? And that's awesome, Anna. Anna's remembering which wolf to feed. And it's true. You got both wolves within ourselves. We could focus on the negative. We can focus on the commercialism. We can focus on how much did so-and-so, or I have to outspend so-and-so. I have to go into Hawk every year to make sure my kids blah, 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 and all that other stuff. Whatever. Again, you don't have to do any of that. You do not have to follow the other lemmings that are doing the same thing and beating their heads into the wall. You don't have to do it too. Nothing against the lemmings. Lemmings are lemmings. And I'm okay with lemmings. I just choose not to be one of them. That's just my personal choice. But this is part of it. This is all part of it. So which wolf would you feed? Especially now, this is the time where the holidays are crazy. It's very, very stressful. People get mean. Mean. I remember on more than one occasion getting cut off by an old lady. And one of them chucked the finger at me. I didn't do anything wrong at the moment either. If I did, I'd say, well, I cut her off or I did something. But it's not the case. It's someone highly stressed, no coping skills, cut you off, and then on top of that, chucks the finger and tells you to F off. I was like, that's someone's grandmother. I'm like, what? But this is the thing, and this is what boils down to it. And I've been in third world countries, so I know why we have the crime that we do on occasion. Well, I understand why it happens. Is because of desperate people. They resort to desperate things, and this is why they make desperate decisions. So now, that's the hard part. That's the difficult part. So now, instead of doing that, instead of doing something just willy-nilly and not thinking about it, be more mindful of it. And especially now, you have the opportunity. I know people that do random acts of kindness in this time of year. That's fantastic. That is a wonderful thing. They give to charity, or they will donate food out of their pantry, or buy food, or buy toys for children. I saw a post that I shared recently. Someone going out and just giving blankets to people randomly. Jackets, blankets, things that are bought. There was one social post that I even had seen that one guy, You'd never know that this would ever happen, but he did it. He gave his brand new sneakers from his feet to someone else. And he happened to have been a veteran, the person that he gave it to, by the way. But he was a homeless guy. And he gave away they were brand new too. If you can buy another pair, so be it. Things are things. People are a different story. Awesome. Anna's saying that she has a friend who's organizing a party for all the kids in Barrio Loco in Nicaragua. And also, I want to take a minute to send love to the people in Puerto Rico. They're still, and by the way, they are Americans, thank you very much. They're still, some of them still have no power. It's still devastation there. So think about that. And these are Americans. People are dropping the ball and not taking care of other people. However, people like myself, you, that person over there, they're stepping up. There were a bunch of people in New York they put together, I think it was ridiculous. It was something like 3 or 4 or 5 truckloads to send it to Puerto Rico. Everything from food, blankets, clothing, you name it. And they were putting stuff together for their fellow people in Puerto Rico. And they're absolutely right. We're all connected. They're all our brothers and sisters. We're all family. We're all connected by that one little strand of DNA. Whether you're this color or that color, brown, green, red, purple, doesn't matter. We're all connected. And this is why December is so important. This is why we're looking at what we're doing right now, right here, right now, is so important. Before you lash out at somebody, walk a mile in their shoes. Think about how you would want to be treated if you were having a stressful day. Would you want someone to be an a-hole towards you? I can honestly say, and I still don't get this phenomenon, but it does happen, is I could be having the worst day and I'm actually nicer to people. And it didn't dawn on me right away. I didn't even realize I was doing it. I was mindlessly doing it. But the funny part of that was, deep down in the back of my mind somewhere, I was realizing I should not subject my bad day on someone else. So I don't want to say overcompensating, but I was pushing to the other level, shining extra, doing more. Now, I'm saying Chef Jose Andre and his group fed over 3 million meals in Puerto Ricans. Now, this is one person. Chef Andre, one person. And he'd started doing it by himself. He didn't get the support of FEMA and other people until later. It was one guy started going there and started making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, rice and beans, whatever it was, and he was doing it. And he started a whole new movement. This is a whole movement. The bunch of other chefs went down and started cooking. He started something. He started the ball rolling. And that's exactly my point. This is exactly what I mean. It's so easy to go and walk, and especially in this time of year, it's so easy to worry about the newest Tickle Me Elmo or the newest, biggest, baddest thing or the newest smartphone or whatevs. But honestly, it's really not about that. It's really all about knowing what you could do to make the world a better place. Knowing what you could do to make you a better person. It's not comfortable. It's not fun. It's not easy. Honestly, it is far easier to be selfish and nasty towards other people. It's so much harder to be mindful and caring when someone doesn't understand you, or someone doesn't like your color, or someone doesn't like where you're from. It's so much harder to turn the other cheek. And there you go. And he was using food trucks to go to nursing homes. And some of these people live on the island where it's deserted aspects or remote areas of the island. Because if you think about it, there's an island. Now, my take on the whole Puerto Rico thing is, why aren't they working with solar? Why aren't they getting solar systems out there? Why aren't they helping doing that? And I'm not going to get into a rant, because it'll be very easy for me to get into a rant, but I'm not going to. The government helped Texas. They helped Florida. Didn't even think about Puerto Rico. Paper towels. Just saying. I'm going to move on. But ultimately, in this time of year, it's time to look at yourself, look at what the takeaway for the year is, take a good look at what makes you you, how you can improve you, and move on to the new year. Bigger, better, brighter, more fit, with a better mindset, taking better care of yourself, and therefore taking care of other people. And yes, I understand that there was other things in place, but they were treated as a third world country in our own United States. That's kind of the situation too. Just because you're not connected. Alaska's taken care of. Hawaii's taken care of. Why not the Virgin Islands? Why not Puerto Rico? Why not, other places? They take care of Guam. Strategic. That's why. It's within their purpose. But again, we all have issues, and we're none of us are perfect. All of us. And we are works in progress. We're not pretty and perfect all the time. And we'll summarize the show and summarize the topic. But ultimately, you have the opportunity to make things different. You have the opportunity to make things change. You have the opportunity to make things better. And now, in this time of year, you have another opportunity to find the takeaway and work with what works and get rid of what doesn't work. And if that happens, then you can find yourself in a better place, in a better way, with a better mindset, with a better life. So ultimately, as Anna's saying, be the change. You can be the candle or the reflection. But do something. Or do nothing. But don't get in the way. But that's just my take. Just don't get in the way. There are a lot of people that want to criticize everything. Didn't get out of the way. But I want to thank all of you for coming. I want to thank all of you for being here at Insight with Moonshadow. It's all of you that inspire me to continue doing this every week. This is the 99th show. The big 100th show is next week. We've got merchandise coming up, so we're finalizing that. So that's going to be coming, and as well as another journeys coming up. So that is also coming up as well. The West Coast Wanderlust episode will be coming, and then we're in the process still of editing all the crazy footage and even potentially a blooper reel. Not only with updating, channel trailers and everything. Soup to nuts, a lot of new changes are coming about. All improvements, and as I look at improving myself every day the best I can, I try to do the same thing with the channel and what we're doing here at Inside with Moonshadow. So, I want to thank all of you for being here. It's fantastic that you guys showed up, and it's really great that you guys are here to share your stories, share your opinions, and be part of the conversation, because ultimately, conversation is a way to making things happen. If you don't talk to each other, nothing gets done. That's a little hint to certain people in the world today. Talk to each other. Sort it out. Make it work. But as I say every week, be strong, be amazing, be you. And we'll see you next week. Big 100th show next week. So, take care, love and light, and we'll catch you on the flip.